All right, my friends, welcome back. This is going to be part 29 of my presentation on the flood and Noah's Ark. And in this one here, it's going to be, as far as the actual subject matter on showing evidence, we're going to be looking at oil, and it's not going to really take too long to go over that material. Some topics I'll be going over a little bit deeper than others. And then, with these others that I won't be going into very deep, I'll give you other areas that you could further your knowledge. But some of them is just with the material that is in these topics. You could make a whole series in themselves. And so, but I'll just be, again, just kind of hit and missing on some of these, but you'll have a good bit of background on them to further your knowledge on your own if you want to. And so, again, these topics are for my creationists, my Bible believers that may be a little bit confused on these topics. Where does creation? Where do we as Bible believers? Where do we sit on such topics? And so, what does the Bible have to say about such things? And so, but at the end of this video, I'm going to kind of go over some material that I originally went over in my dinosaur and man presentation. And I will link some videos or a video, the first set of videos in the description below for you guys if you guys want to further watch that, which I go into a little bit deeper than I will now, but I'm going to kind of cover some of that at the end of this video. And again, to kind of clarify some things, some words, some terminologies and stuff like that you guys will hear. And so, but if you'll notice on the screen here, we're going to talk about oil. We're going to talk about oil. And it says here, petroleum. Petroleum, also called crude oil, is a fossil fuel. And we've talked about that before, like coal. Coal is a fossil fuel. You'll hear that referred to. Like coal and natural gas, petroleum was formed from the remains of ancient marine organisms, such as plants, algae, and bacteria. Now listen to this, guys. Over millions of years of intense heat and pressure. Notice that. It's very key. Over millions of years. And so I do have some folks that, and recently I've had some people comment on some of my videos that stated that mainstream geologists, they don't believe in some of the traditional uniformitarian beliefs. But this is the thing I want them to realize. Though they may not believe in certain sediments laying over millions of years, they still hold on to that long geologic ages. That is the point I'm trying to make to them. Even though they may have changed their mind in certain sedimentary deposits on how fastly or how quickly or how long they're laid down, they still hold on to those geological ages. And so, again, I'm going to go back over that at the end of this video, but I want you guys to notice that over millions of years, this is a common thing that's taught. These organic remains, fossils transformed into carbon-rich substances we rely on as raw materials for fuel and a wide variety of products. Here we go again. Millions of years ago, algae and plants lived in shallow seas after dying and sinking to the seafloor. The organic material mixed with other sediments and was buried over millions of years under high pressure and high temperature. The remains of these organisms transformed into what we know today as fossil fuels. Coal, natural gas, and petroleum are all fossil fuels that formed under similar conditions. The geological conditions that would eventually create petroleum, here we go again, formed millions of years ago when plants, algae, and plankton drifted in oceans and shallow seas. These organisms sank to the seafloor, and at the end of their life cycle, over time, notice that, over time, they were buried and crushed under millions of tons of sediments and even more layers of plant debris. Now, I got this information from where? National Geographic. And it's education.nationalgeographic.org is where I got that from, under petroleum. That's what they teach. That's what they teach. Now, it says heat and pressure makes oil in minutes. Get that. Engineers at the U.S. Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Laboratory have created a continuous process that produces useful crude. Now, what I'm thinking they're talking about here is what's called green crude. Green crude. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But they made oil, guys, in minutes. In minutes. After harvested algae is introduced. The final product can be refined into aviation fuel, diesel, or gasoline. Aviation fuel, diesel, or gasoline. Get that. Get that. At the temperatures that they did it at was 662 degrees, and the pressures was 3,000 pressures per square inch. Guys, they did it in minutes. They did it in minutes, and it can be used. In a sense, this is what they're saying. In a sense, now this came from a secular article, guys. It says, in a sense, we are duplicating the process in the earth that converted algae into oil over what? The course of millions of years. We're just doing it much faster. Now, I don't think they realize what they just said. They kind of contradicted themselves in a way, because they said, in a sense, we are duplicating the process in the earth. But if they're duplicating the process that's in the earth, how come it took the earth millions of years to do it? That's a little catch-22 here. I don't know if they realize what they said. If they're duplicating, now it says in a sense, but they're doing the same thing. We're duplicating the process in the earth, but it took the earth millions of years to do it, and they can do it in minutes? No, I don't believe it takes millions of years to make oil. And we're going to see that here further. So here it is here. So you got algae slurry towards the front of the picture. Then it's converted to crude oil. And then they refined it into diesel fuel. Get that. They can actually make oil in minutes. It says algae is also a potentially enormous source of energy. Algae oil, so-called green crude, can be converted into biofuel. Algae grows extremely quickly and takes up a fraction of the space used by other biofuel feedstocks. About 38,849 square kilometers, which is 15,000 square miles, of algae, less than half the size of the U.S. state of Maine, would provide enough biofuel, get this guys, to replace all of the U.S. petroleum needs. Algae absorbs pollution, releases oxygen, and does not require fresh water. What in the world are we doing? Why aren't we doing this instead of the way we're getting our oil? Now, it says here, rapid refinery. In 1982, a New York Times article titled "Divers Find Natural Oil Refineries" stated oil is being formed in the Gulf of California from the unusually rapid breakdown of organic debris by extraordinarily extensive heat flowing through the sediments, offering scientists a singular opportunity to see how petroleum is formed. Ordinarily, oil has been thought to form over millions of years, whereas in this instant, the process is probably occurring in thousands of years. Thousands of years. Now that would follow along the biblical timeline. Okay, that right there is the end of the topic of the oil. And I'm looking at my time here, and we got about 10 minutes. And what I want to do, hopefully I can do this next part within just a few minutes. But I kind of just want to go over this thing on uniformitarianism. So at the time of this recording, I've had somebody give me some comments about how geologists don't they don't think the way I guess they used to think in a long time ago when uniformitarianism first was introduced. And so, but the thing is, even though that they don't believe certain aspects like they used to believe, let's just say, I'm just throwing this out as an example, that sediments that are being laid takes thousands and thousands of years, that they do believe in rapid deposition of sediments. Even though they do believe that, they're still holding on to the long ages of time, which had gotten its start in the mid to latter 1800s. And so that thought is still prevailing on the long geological ages of time, even though they may change their thought. And that's the thing with evolution. They're constantly changing their theories, constantly. They're constantly rewriting what they believe. And so it's constantly evolving. I guess you could say, if I could use that term, pun intended. They're always evolving with their theories. It's constant. It's a constant thing. Whereas the biblical timeline, there's no need to change that type of thought. We are giving the Bible. Let me just get my Bible here. The Bible right here is our history book. This is our history book, guys, right here. This is where I get the history. This tells us that the world is about 6,000 years old. It says it's 6,000 years old. It's as simple as that. Jesus said, he that made them at the beginning made them male and female. And where was the beginning? The beginning was day 6. And that was during that 6 days of creation, a literal 24-hour period, about 6,000 years ago. And so the flood happened about 4,500 years ago. I'm not putting exact certain dates and months on it. I'm saying about. We're going on about a 6,000 year timeline. This is it, guys. This is it. And no matter what these folks are saying, if it goes beyond the 6,000 years, guys, I don't hold on to it. We don't hold on to it. It's simple as that. Nothing is millions of years old. It's not. It's not. And they need that millions of years for evolution to work, because to get an animal to turn into a certain animal, or a reptile to become another animal, or us to come out of the oceans and from the sludge as a little amoeba and then turn it into another animal, and then for us to evolve from the chimpanzees, they need those millions and millions of years, though they have no evidence from one animal turning into another animal. No evidence, zero evidence for that. And so, but they need that. And that's where they need this uniformitarian thinking, these long ages of time. Even though they may believe in rapid deposition, they still hold on to those geologic timelines. Because if they don't, the whole system breaks down. Because evolution was brought from that, came out of that. And that's what I want to talk about right now. If you'll notice on the screen here, this James Hutton, this is kind of where it all came about. Now, I am going to put a video in the description below, and where I did a series of videos on this information right here, but I'm just going through the highlighted material. If you'll notice, Hutton formulated the uniformitarian theory of geology. He wasn't the one that termed the word. There was another fellow that termed the word, and we're going to talk about that. That was around 1832. I will show you the chart on that in just a minute. But James Hutton formed the uniformitarian theory of geology, which he suggested that processes as sedimentation, volcanism, and erosion cause changes in the surface of the earth, and have been operating in the same manner at the same rate over long periods of time. Thus, he saw the earth as being much older than had been previously thought. This aroused strong opposition from those who believed in James Ussher's biblical chronology, published in 1650, which stated that the world was created, and now he gave more of a year, 4004 BC. Hutton summarized his theories in the Theory of the Earth. It was a 2-volume set in 1795, but there was two opposing thoughts. You had catastrophism, and then you had uniformitarianism. Now, the uniformitarianism was your evolutionist, and your catastrophism was your Bible believers, those that believed in the biblical flood. And so that's what they didn't believe. And I'm going to show you more of that here in just a second. This right here is Charles Lyell. Now, Charles Lyell, again, he builds upon James Hutton's theories. Now, Charles Lyell made the comment that he wanted to free the science from Moses. He wanted to free the science from Moses. Now, what do you think he's talking about? He wants to get away from the Bible. That's what he's saying. Now, look at the highlighted area. Building on the pioneering work of the 18th century Scottish geologist James Hutton, Lyell developed the theory of uniformitarianism. This theory says that the natural processes that change the earth in the present have operated in the past at the same gradual rate. So he built upon the theory of uniformitarianism from James Hutton. James Hutton introduced the thought of it, not the term, but the thought of it, and then Charles Lyell built upon that. But what was he after, guys? He was after the Bible. They did not want to believe in the flood. Now, going on, it says uniformitarianism contradicted the theory of catastrophism, which was the popular among scientists of Lyell's times. Or sometimes it's pronounced Lyell. I just said Lyell's. Catastrophism claimed that only major catastrophes could change the basic formation of the earth, and that the earth was only about 6,000 years old, because they believed the Bible. Most scientists believed that catastrophism was consistent with the Bible's account of the earth's creation. See, scientists at one point in time, they had it going on. They had it going on. Lyell published his theories of principles of geology, which he revised, get this guys, 11 times. They're constantly revising. Between 1830 and 1872, Lyell's theories influenced the work of his friend, guess who? Charles Darwin, who developed the theory of evolution. Aspects of evolutionary theory contradicted certain principles of uniformitarianism. However, Lyell eventually became a strong supporter of Darwin's theories. Now, going on, Charles Darwin. Now, again, highlighted area. Principles of Geology. It was a 3-volume set by Charles Lyell. Again, Charles Darwin is building upon now Lyell, arrived by post, having something mailed, is what that means, and was a huge influence during his time on his voyage when he was on his ship. This reshaped the way Darwin would view the geological, fossil, zoological, and botanical information that he collected. Now, highlighted area. The basic meaning of the word evolution is gradual change over time. Darwin became more and more convinced that life evolved from a common ancestor. Now, what did this do to Charles Darwin's beliefs? On March 7th, 1837, this is what he said. This is Charles Darwin talking. I took lodgings in Great Marlborough Street in London and remained there for nearly 2 years until I was married. During these 2 years, I was led to think much about religion, but I had gradually come by this time to see that the Old Testament, from its manifestly false history of the world, was no more to be trusted than the sacred books of the Hindus or the beliefs of any barbarian. Thus belief crept over me at a very slow rate, but was at last complete. The rate was so slow that I felt no distress, and have never since doubted, even for a single second, that my conclusion was correct. I can indeed hardly see how anyone ought to wish Christianity to be true. For if so, the plain language of the text seems to show that the men who do not believe, and this would include my father, brother, and almost all my best friends, will be everlastingly punished, and this is a damnable doctrine. And so, again, you have the references there. This is what this thinking, guys, does to your Christianity. This is what it does. It will mess you up. Now, somebody had written, this was a letter, he was asked a question. Charles Darwin was asked a question when written a letter from a Christian, a barrister, lawyer. Darwin was asked less than 2 years before his death if he believed in the New Testament. And this is what Darwin said. This is the end result, guys, of what evolution will do to your belief in the Bible. It says, "Dear sir, I am sorry to have to inform you that I do not believe in the Bible as a divine revelation, and therefore not in Jesus Christ as the Son of God." That is what this theory will do to your belief in the Bible. Now, this is a chart here. If you guys want to freeze it and look over it. I'm not going to go through everything. I've got about 20 minutes already into this. This is the longest video, but I just want to, we're going to end this whole thing with coal and oil and stuff with this thought here, with the sedimentation deposits and stuff. But if you guys want to look here, this is kind of just a little brief overview. This is where evolution and the uniformitarian doctrine got started. This is where it got started. And so you got Hutton, Lyell, and then you got Darwin, which is the main key players into this. Now, that whole term, the term uniformitarianism, from what I was able to gather from the Britannica, is that it originally started from this guy named William Whewell. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. But if you notice there about right there between Hutton and Lyell, you got 1832, just go down from there and you'll see this gentleman here. And so he was a University of Cambridge scholar. And so he coined the term uniformitarianism as where it got started from there. But we'll stop right here. If you guys want to look over this, it kind of gives you the whole area from about, like I said, 1795 to the 1800s, the latter 1800s. This is where this whole thought system got its catapult into what we see today. Even though there may be certain aspects that evolutionists don't hold true anymore, the thought is still there and they still hold true to these long ages of time. But we're going to stop right there. I know I kind of got on a soapbox there, but guys, this topic is extremely important, and I see Christians out there compromising their Bibles by trying to add in evolution into it. And so they're messing up. They're really messing up. When you start compromising the Word of God, you are really walking on dangerous ground. And so, but at any rate, we'll stop right there. I think my next video may be posted next year. And we're right here on the threshold of 2025. And so I will see you guys next year. I wish you a happy new year, and let's see what the Lord wants to do. I love you and hope the Lord blesses you real good. Bye-bye.